She's a lovely girl. She's been at the Rafael Nadal Academy for multiple years. We talked about the serve being better. It's going to be harder for people to hit a hole through her. It's going to be much more physically combative.
She's got a lot of points to defend next week because she got to the semi-finals.
Yeah, I have a good lefty, moves exceptionally well. Competes.
He had talked about her hardcourt game, but that was before the clay season even began. Before she boarded the flight to Mallorca and returned to the Rafa Nadal Academy, the very place where tennis's greatest clay court dynasty was forged. She spent an entire week on red clay, fine-tuning her game for a surface that critics had been circling for months. And then she stepped onto the courts in Linz, Austria, officially kicking off the campaign that every rival on the WTA Tour had been quietly dreading ever since the draw was released. He said she could be the toughest player to face on the WTA Tour on this surface. Not necessarily the hardest to beat, but the hardest to play against. There's a difference. And Rusedski, a left-hander himself, a man who spent his career studying exactly how a lefty serve can rattle opponents, knows it. He understands the angles it creates, the psychological pressure it imposes, the way it occupies a returner's mind in ways no right-handed serve ever could. When he says it, he means it. The WTA's rivals heard him. Ostapenko heard him. Every player whose path might cross with Eala from Linz to Stuttgart, Madrid to Roland Garros heard it. And the ones who claim they aren't worried, they're lying.
Yeah, I have a good lefty, moves exceptionally well. Competes incredibly well. The movement's there. The firepower's getting better. It's a gradual build-up. She's really getting into her body. I like the way she thinks tactically. She's very astute out there.
This isn't some fan waving a phone with a Filipino flag. This isn't a journalist who caught the highlights on YouTube. This is Greg Rusedski, a man who reached world number 4, who faced Pete Sampras, Andre Agassi, Patrick Rafter, and Roger Federer in their primes. He watched Alex Eala under the blazing sun on hard courts during the Middle East swing, saw her dominate in the Dubai quarterfinal, and called her the real deal, destined for the top 10 at just 20 years old. But here's the key. Rusedski isn't just impressed on hard court. He singles out clay as the surface where Eala becomes truly formidable. And this is what the WTA establishment has quietly been ignoring: the warning. Every opponent seeing her name in the next 5 weeks should read very carefully. Left-handed players on clay are a different breed. They always have been. Rafa Nadal owns 14 Roland Garros titles. Guillermo Vilas ruled South American clay for a decade. The left-handed serve on clay, with its sharp angle out wide to the deuce court, dragging right-handers off the court into spaces they simply can't reach, is a weapon more devastating here than anywhere else. On clay, the ball bounces higher, kicks sideways more aggressively, and the angle holds longer. A lefty serve out wide to a right-hander's backhand, already the weaker side kicks further off the court than it ever does on hard court, opening gaps that simply don't exist on other surfaces. Alex Eala's left-handed serve, the very shot Brad Gilbert flagged as her weakest point, the one Karolina Muchova exposed in Miami, is about to become a major weapon on a surface that naturally amplifies everything a left-hander does. Rusedski knows this because he lived it. He won matches on clay as a lefty that, on paper, he shouldn't have. Why? Because the surface amplified his serve, created openings, and forced opponents into mistakes they couldn't neutralize.
20. She is great for the WTA. We need more stars, we need more names, and we need new people. And she opens up a marketplace, and people just love her. Anywhere around the world where there are people from the Philippines, they're always talking about her. What meal can I cook for her? What can I do this? They just automatically, her matches sell out. And to me, she is a huge, huge positive, and I'd love to see her on this surface crack the top 20.
He even admitted once that he wants to coach her serve the man with the fastest serve in professional tennis history, the man whose entire career was built around the left-handed weapon that defined an era. He looked at Alex Eala and said, "I see what that can become. I want to be the one to develop it." That sentence alone should send shivers through every player in the Linz draw. Rusedski isn't talking about a serve that's broken or beyond repair. He's describing a weapon that already causes trouble that will multiply on clay. And he's hinting there's even more accuracy, more power, more potential that hasn't yet been unlocked. She's wreaking havoc with an underdeveloped weapon. Now imagine what happens when it's fully loaded.
The Manny Pacquiao of the Philippines. He's like a god over there with his fighting career, and they're always so hungry for a new superstar. She's a lovely girl. She's been at the Rafael Nadal Academy for multiple years. We talked about the serve being better. It's going to be harder for people to hit a hole through her. It's going to be much more physically combative.
He even admitted once that he wants to coach her serve the man with the fastest serve in professional tennis history, the man whose entire career was built around the left-handed weapon that defined an era. He looked at Alex Eala and said, "I see what that can become. I want to be the one to develop it." That sentence alone should send shivers through every player in the Linz draw. Rusedski isn't talking about a serve that's broken or beyond repair. He's describing a weapon that already causes trouble. Trouble that will multiply on clay. And he's hinting there's even more accuracy, more power, more potential that hasn't yet been unlocked. She's wreaking havoc with an underdeveloped weapon. Now imagine what happens when it's fully loaded.
Good thing is she has a good attitude. She's working hard, but you don't want to create this scar tissue when you're playing the top girls and you're losing so easily at times. And I think she will get over that hump. She's too good and she's putting in the effort, and she is great for the WTA. But right now it's kind of like the likes of Mukova and Boko. Those are the players you're looking to break through.
He is right about the diagnosis. Brutally, honestly, and completely right. The match against Muchova, 6-0, 6-2 inches, just 60 minutes, was decided primarily by the serve. Muchova won 80% of her first serve points. Eala, only 39%. That gap was catastrophic, and it's not the first time this pattern has emerged. Czech players like Noskova in Indian Wells, Muchova in Miami, have exposed the same vulnerability. Take time away, attack the second serve, overwhelm with pace. Rusedski knows this from the other side. He had the best serve on tour for years. He knows what it feels like when the serve is working, opening the court, generating free points, giving that first strike advantage that changes the geometry of every rally before it even begins. And he knows what it feels like for opponents when it isn't. He is telling Eala and the WTA that the serve is the door. Fix it, and a top 1-0 ranking isn't a question anymore. But here's what the critics conveniently leave out. Immediately after making that point, he said, "The good thing is she has a good attitude. She's working hard. She's putting in the effort. I think she's too good a player not to make it into the top 10. Working hard, putting in the effort, good attitude." These aren't hollow words from a man who's spent over 20 years in professional sport. They are the three things that separate players who reach their ceiling from those who break through it. Talent is common in the WTA. Everyone in the top 100 has it. The separation comes from work, effort, and attitude, especially when the big losses come. And they always do. I posted, "First Sunshine double done." After that 6-0, 6-2 loss at the biggest tournament of her season, she flew straight to Mallorca and back to practice. No complaints about ranking drops, schedule, or pressure. Working hard, putting in the effort, good attitude. Rusedski sees it. He named it publicly. Meanwhile, the WTA has been distracted by crowds, Djokovic's scheduling comments, James Blake's apology, and chair reforms. But what they need to hear is what a former world number 4 is saying about Eala's trajectory. The Linz draw could pit her against Ostapenko next 2017 French Open champion, former Linz Open winner. The kind of opponent who beats top players on clay. Most players in Eala's position would take a deep breath and consider themselves unlucky. Eala has beaten Ostapenko twice, but only on hard courts. Clay is different, completely different. And this is exactly the match Rusedski's analysis points to. A left-hander with a serve designed to create problems, facing an opponent who hasn't had to solve them on red clay. Eala herself said, "I'm super excited for the clay court swing. I think that's one surface where I have a lot of room for improvement, so I'm excited to see how it pans out this year." Room for improvement, excited. Genuinely, openly, authentically excited. Not cautious, not managing expectations. Excited to discover the clay version of herself, a version no one has seen at WTA level yet. That is the most dangerous sentence on the entire tour right now. A player ranked 46th, with wins over top opponents, admitting she has room to improve on a surface she has barely played, wielding a left-handed serve that Rusedski says could become significantly more accurate and powerful. With 0 points to defend between Linz and Roland Garros. He looked at all of this, sat down at his microphone on the Off-Court podcast, thought about what a left-handed game does on clay, about attitude, work ethic, potential, and he said it. She is the real deal. She is going to get into the top 10. She's too good a player not to. And on clay, the surface the haters thought was safe, she could be the hardest player to face on tour. The WTA put her on court 6 inches Melbourne. They watched her crowds overflow the venues assigned to her. They watched Djokovic defend her scheduling. They watched the chair announce reforms. They watched tournament directors issue apologies and promises. And now, a former world number 4, A lefty who knows exactly what a left-handed game can do is standing on a podcast telling the world the clay season hasn't even started yet, and the real deal, top 1-0 player, is already in Linz. Ostapenko waits in round 2. The clay season starts.